morning, everyone. Are you hearing us? You are indeed. Good stuff. Elizabeth, thanks very much for joining us, first of all. And I suppose to start our discussion, and the very first question, I suppose to set it all up, is can business success of a team or a franchise, can it have an effect, be it directly or indirectly, on a team's success on the pitch?
Well, Kieran, we firmly believe that we have an ability on the business side, via marketing, via community, to affect the game on the field. We believe that if we're creating the right environment, if we're doing the right things off the field, that in fact that will help our players win on the field. I
suppose the simplistic way I was looking at it in our conversation beforehand was, you bring in the sponsorship revenue, there's more money to be invested in the team will get better, they win games. Is that how you would look at it?
It is the simplest business model you'll ever see. It's a circle. We generate revenue to pay players to win football games. It's as simple as that. So my job is via marketing and corporate partnerships is to generate that revenue so we can pay our players so they can go out and win football games. So absolutely, success on the field makes our job a bit easier in terms of selling tickets and generating that revenue.
In terms of looking at it a little deeper then, in terms of, for instance, creating a better atmosphere in the stadium for your fans, game day experiences, creates a better atmosphere for the players to play in front of, do you feel that has an impact as well on how they're performing on the field?
Yeah, Kieran, the NFL is unique in that we have 10 home games. We go into the playoffs, and if you're fortunate to host a home game, you'll have one, perhaps two more. 10 times to create that home field advantage. Every one of our home field games is like a World Series playoff or the opening of an NBA or a National Basketball playoff or a hockey playoff or final. So we have 10 games to create that home field advantage. We have 65,000 fans that can create the momentum and help help with the noise to create a situation where players are jumping off and they're creating penalties. So we have that ability, and our fans know they have that ability. So what do we do from a marketing perspective to create that home field advantage? We call it defending the den. The Seattle Seahawks have their 12th man. Teams have created brands around that home field advantage.
Could you give us some examples of the kind of game day experiences that you offer to fans?
Sure. So in football, American football in general, there's a rich heritage of tailgating and celebrating before the game. So people will arrive anywhere for a 1 o'clock kick at maybe 8, 9 in the morning, set up lavish tailgates, and then walk into the game. One of our jobs is to get them in the game so that they're actually in the stadium at kickoff, which is tough because they're out drinking, they're out eating, they're with their buddies, they don't necessarily want to come in. So we have things that we do pregame, we have alumni, we have entertainment, we have traditions, we have fans that are actually able to go out on the field and meet and greet the players before they come out for the game. So we have specific things to get them in the field at kickoff. And then throughout the game, we have opportunities for them to experience the game in a different way, whether it's on the field or in the stadium through entertainment and crowd activities.
And outside of fan experiences and game day experiences and the sponsorship revenue that you have to generate, what other off-field successes can feed into a more successful on-field performance?
So we have a unique opportunity in football in that the majority of our players live in our local market. Unlike baseball or basketball, where perhaps they live somewhere else and then they travel in for the games. As an example, we have 100 alumni that live in the Detroit area. These are folks that have since left the Lions or their team and have chosen to remain local. So we have a wonderful pool of players and alumni. When they're not practicing, and it's typically on Tuesdays, we look for community activities for them to do. 3 years ago, we made the intentional decision to streamline our community activities. As many of you may know, Detroit, Michigan has gone through some very difficult times. It's the cradle of the automotive industry. With the collapse of the financial and automotive industry in Michigan and Detroit, we had a really big hole to dig out of. So our community commitment was around health and wellness and community redevelopment, and we leaned in and we streamlined all of our community activities and focused on 5 partners that were delivering out health and wellness and community redevelopment. What that means to our players is they have very intentional things that they can do. With Habitat for Humanity, they can go out and help build a home and help a family get settled. We have a health and wellness message with Playworks that delivers out active play for children. So it enables our players to go out in the community, hang out with each other, build that off-field relationship and repertoire, and also feel good. And there's positive media stories and positive outcomes that will come out. So even if you've lost a game, you can then turn around on Tuesday and do something really impactful in the community, and that in and of itself builds positive momentum for the team, as well as helps our city feel connected to our players.
Now, you mentioned losing a game, and apologies for bringing this up, but we have to go there. The Detroit Lions lost badly at the weekend, 1-7 at the moment. It's not the kind of season that you were hoping for. How difficult is it to market a team that's going through a lean period, an unsuccessful period, as you are at the moment?
Well, it's difficult, and it's as difficult to motivate the business team as it is the players. So no, we did not think we'd find ourselves as a 1-7 team. As a matter of fact, we competed in the playoffs last year, and we envisioned ourselves there again. Kieran, as I mentioned to you off stage, when you're winning, it's certainly easier. The phones are ringing a little bit faster. People are answering your calls a little bit quicker. But we're only one of 32 teams. It's not difficult for us to get a meeting. It's not difficult for us to get a partner engaged. For us right now, it's really how do we deliver out value to our fans, the folks that have invested in their season tickets and invested in their single game tickets. And we've got another 8 games to play. So my team right now is back in Detroit. We've got a bye week, and they're thinking through how do we change our messaging and how do we focus the last half of our season specifically on delivering out unique experiences to our fans. So regardless of our team play, how do we make every fan that goes to a game or engages in our team in the community feel as though they got something memorable and exceptional, and want to carry that through and when they make their decisions next spring on whether they're going to renew their season ticket memberships.
And how important, when you're going through that process, is creativity and creative thinking and thinking of ways around that?
Well, it's a combination of creativity and what's appropriate. So, fans are fans for a reason, right? They're passionate. Even if you're a casual fan, you're passionate to some degree. And we know they're hurting right now. They're struggling. They're stung. They're disappointed in the team's performance. So not only is it how do we creatively engage them, but also how do we do it in an appropriate way so they don't feel as though we're disrespectful. And that's a fine line. I gave my own team a pep talk before we traveled out to Wembley last week. And I said, this is really when you earn your money, honestly. I mean, when you're winning and everything's flowing is when it is fairly easy. This is when you make your mark. I mean, from a career perspective, they're going to go on and do extraordinary things with other teams, but to be able to look back and say, we were in this sort of a hole, and then these are the intentional things we did to engage our fans, and then this was the result. These are the partners that we retained. This is the fans that they got on the field, they met the players, they did the things that they ordinarily can't do, and that made them want to continue to remain a fan. This is where you really make your mark from a career perspective.
And I suppose you mentioned both creativity and also being respectful to the fans and being appropriate in what you offer them in terms of the content you're trying to deliver. What other elements do you have to be mindful of when it comes to marketing a team who are on a losing streak?
It's so multifaceted. We have our game plan, right? We had our game plan that we set last June, but our game plan is not working out how we thought it was going to work out. And so every single social media post we do, every single media interview we do, every single email we send out is thought through. And it's thought through now in a different way. So for example, you play on a Sunday, and typically Monday's sort of you're either celebrating and there's a big release and people are on a high, or you're stung and you're trying to figure out how that happened. Tuesday is sort of the neutral day. So the players are off, it's sort of our regroup day, and then Wednesday you turn towards what's going to happen the next weekend. In this case, we have a bye week, so we have a whole week and a half to sort of marinate on this. So on Mondays, we certainly don't post anything looking forward. It's all reflective, it's highlights for the game, it's our critical analysis of the game. Our website is not just PR fodder. We have very critical thinking and writing because we're competing with our local media, so we want our fans to come to DetroitLions.com to get critical commentary. But again, we're appropriate. So Monday is really how do we look honestly at ourselves, and then Tuesday is sort of our buffer to look forward. So, we're doing things like we're thinking through what sponsor activation is happening. Kieran, I shared with you that one of our sponsors is looking to bring the Lombardi Trophy into Pride Plaza, our tailgate area, in a few weeks. Back in June, wonderful opportunity. The Lombardi Trophy is something everyone wants to see and touch. It's what the winner of the Super Bowl receives. It's a hallowed display of the ultimate victory. You know, in the National Football League, there's one winner. 31 teams lose every single year. And so that was a good plan to bring that in, right? On the plane last night, I found out that the plan was to bring the NSC trophy in to Detroit. Right now, that would really, in my opinion, not be appropriate. Our fans thought they were going to be competing for that trophy, sure, and it's unlikely now that they will. So to bring that in as a reminder that our team is underperforming is really something that we're looking to adjust and perhaps not do that activation. So, you know, down to what our partners' plans are, to when we post our social media, we now look at, and again, we have a 120-page game script every single game. So what music are we playing? When's our mascot appearing? We now look at that every single game and we adjust to make sure that we're respectful to what's happening on the field.
And how important is it to, I suppose, plan and make allowances for the leaner times when things are actually going well, that when things are going well on the pitch, that you are thinking ahead and that it's not always going to be going well?
Absolutely. So two of the most important things that we've done since I joined the Lions, and I joined 4 seasons ago, 3.5 years ago, the majority of our partnerships were 1 year or less, which is actually kind of staggering, right? So 80% of our time, 80% of our partnerships were under a year. So my sales team was spending the entire time chasing those partnerships. And they also were doing it late in the season, so they were butting up to our own season, so they were doing it in the spring versus when they should be doing it now. So two of the fundamental things we did as a football team is, number one, we switched the dynamic. So now 80% of our partnerships are 3 to 5 years or longer. So what that means is, if you go through a period where perhaps you're not performing on the field, you're still in a 3 to 5 year partnership. You're not chasing, and you're not, you know, people aren't counting on those wins and losses from a partnership perspective. The other thing we did is we changed our sales cycle. And so instead of going out to market in February or March, our season starts, preseasons in August, we're now done selling for 2015, and we're selling into 2016. So we're bringing people to games. They're going on our away trips. They're, you know, participating in our community events to get a flavor for it, so that when our sales team sells, they've already experienced one season. Same thing on the suites and ticketing side, is the majority of our suites were being sold as single game. Very few, or I'm sorry, single season. So very few were multi-year. So now we're doing specific financial incentives so that our suites are being sold on a 5 and 10 year basis. So again, we're trying to neutralize and even out the wins and losses. Because what was happening before is with those 1 year renewals, every single season you're chasing them and you're counting on your win and loss. And as I said, 31 teams are going to lose, and from a business perspective, you can't, it's disruptive. And they should be, from a marketing perspective, they should be buying your product because of the marketing delivery and the outcomes, and not necessarily because your team's winning or losing.
Yeah, and how important are those long-term fans, the bedrock of core group of fans, in comparison, and how do you approach them in comparison to the more bandwagon supporters, the supporters who support a team just when they're winning?
Right, from a fan perspective, it's understanding why they're a fan. Are they a fan because geographically they live in Detroit or in Michigan, and this is going to be your team no matter what? And so for those fans, you have to figure out ways that you can change up the game experience so that they feel as though you're adapting to their needs. So an example is, in the stadium, we've brought in a lot of Detroit-based eateries. Detroit has become quite a foodie mecca over the last 5 years. So there's phenomenal Slow's Barbecue, Russell Street Deli, Mercury Bar. And so these are places, they're single destinations that you can't get their food except if you go there. And some places are a 2 to 3 hour wait to get in. We've partnered with them and brought them into the stadium. So there's unique food and beverage you can offer to make your fan feel as though you're innovative and delivering something out that they can't get outside the stadium. And then the entertainment, the opportunity to go on the field, the opportunity to touch the players as they're entering the field. Those are the unique experiences they can't get when they sit at home. Those are for the avid fans. For the casual fan, how do you create that tribal sense of community, because oftentimes they're going there to be with their friends or they're entertaining on a business perspective. So we have beautiful suites, we have pregame hospitality, we sort of have the whole complement of a wonderful game experience. So if you're going there really for entertainment value or to entertain a business partner, then you can go and actually you're going there for more than just to watch the game. You're going there for the full experience. So maybe you go 3 hours in advance, and we have something called the MGM Tunnel Club. So MGM is a large gaming partner, and we've created a tunnel club, which is subterranean, right next to the player locker room. And so as the players exit, you're right there in this very unique underground experience with superior food and beverage. So if I'm a business person, how unique, there's only 120 people in this club every game, and there's only 10 of these experiences. So how unique is it to invite them to come into this club, be that close to the players, and then it's complemented by field seats. So they actually go out and sit on the field. Those are one-of-a-kind, bucket list kind of items that you can deliver out regardless of whether the team wins or loses.
Now, you played in London at the weekend. How important is building that international fan base? And I suppose, what can an international fan base bring that a local fan base can't bring?
So the league's current strategy, as I understand it, for the international games is to really build the awareness, the education, and the fan base at the top level, and then push that down. So aside from the Jacksonville Jaguars that have a 4-year commitment, all the other teams are rotating in. This is our second year, which is unique. No other teams have gone back-to-back. So we were there last year as a visiting team, and then we were again there as a visiting team. But the NFL, they're as clever and as strategic as you're going to get. And they see that soccer and other sports are coming into the American market and have a deep fan base and are looking to build affinity and sponsorships on the American side. And so they're also looking, how do we build that same kind of fan base on the international side, whether it be London, Germany, Mexico, or other countries. And so with that top-down approach, it starts with getting people to care about the game of football, getting people to understand the game of football, getting people to go and experience it, and then start having an association with another team. I love playing in Wembley. It's an extraordinary space, but it's so curious because you go and it's like a Skittles bag of fans. So, you typically go to an American football game and you have the home and the visiting team, with the home team being predominant. So maybe 80% home team, 20% visiting team. So it's definitely overwhelming in terms of the number of fans. You go to Wembley in the international game, and I would see, a group of 6 fans together, and every single one of them has a different jersey. It seems as though either they had a jersey based on a player that they followed, or perhaps they liked the color or the logo. It's curious to me, but again, they bothered to buy a jersey and to go to the game, so that's important. So the real challenge is going to be, how do you get that fan base to care about a specific team, and perhaps more than just the game of football, but it's so in its infantile stage right now that's really the next challenge.
Now, we're running very short on time, so just to wrap it up and to leave it on a positive note, you mentioned the fact that it's 1-7 at the moment for the Detroit Lions, but it's now time to regroup and plan for the games ahead. There's nothing you can do about the 8 games gone by.
Yeah, Kieran, we're halfway through our season. We've got 8 games to go, and my mission and our team's mission is to win the next 8. And if we can, then we can be considered for the playoffs. So from a business and marketing perspective, that's our message. We've got 8 games to go, and how do we make those 8 games an extraordinary experience for our fans?
Well, the very, very best of luck with it. Ladies and gentlemen, show your appreciation for Elizabeth Parkinson from the Detroit Lions.
Thank you.